Sorry, go on.
No, people who watch that, who are like in the know, like kind of figure like, right, this is their WrestleMania pay-per-view, right? That's what they build it. If you have no titles change hands in the first 3 matches, obviously there has to be something worth this pay-per-view to watch it for. So the title is going to change hands at the end. So it wasn't even a surprise. I just thought it was ridiculous that they had Nash come out and do it. And I don't know. Overall, it was just really, and that fucking Monsters Ball match or whatever.
Oh yeah, with
Mongo.
Oh, he was horrible.
Awful.
He
Like,
was bad.
It was one of those things like that match is such a clusterfuck anyway. Just have a real ref in there. First of all, to keep order. Second of all, his counts where he knew what the finish, how it was going to finish, but to make sure that everyone kicked out at 2, he would pin him and then he'd go
right,
and then he'd like want to make sure that he gave plenty enough time to kick out.
Right.
It was so bad. And if I was those wrestlers, and I think a couple of times LAX actually got kind of mad because you throw off the entire rhythm of the match by doing that.
Yeah. No, I know. I was kind of surprised because, I mean, he has wrestling experience, so it's not like he
Well, I know. That's what me and Randy were talking about. We're like, he was in WCW. He was in the Four Horsemen. He knows. But, like, that's that football thing that they did.
Yeah. Well, it you know, when you're there, it's kind of funny when you're there. But even though in the beginning it was like everyone was thinking, oh, well, McMichael is just doesn't want to give it to Beer Money Incorporated, but he was doing that to everybody who got a pin, which was confusing everyone. And then there was and then people in the audience started getting frustrated with McMichael that he had this funky, counting and then the whole thing that he's like an old Chicago Bear, that wore off really fast.
Oh, yeah.
That wore off.
I
really
could
fast.
give a shit.
So
about that,
but overall, I thought TNA, the pay-per-view, the Bound for Glory pay-per-view was fun. I had fun at it.
Well, but I'm sure, but that was just my problem with TNA in general is that everything is just. I do have to give them credit though for not having like any real gimmicky matches, and I don't count maybe the Monster Ball thing was kind of a gimmick, but I don't count the triple threat matches as gimmicks at all. And they didn't have any of those really shitty gimmicks, which is fine, but. All the finishes for the matches, all the finishes were awful. And Christian's getting buried. Did you hear about that?
Yeah, he did.
He's on his way out.
Yeah, well, I remember I said at the TNA Interactive, I saw him leaving, and I said, good luck at your match, and he went, He went, thanks, but he didn't sound really enthused about it, so he probably had an idea of what was going to happen. The AJ Styles kind of like showed them both up. I mean, he looked incredible.
AJ Styles always does that though. He's the best wrestler that they have. And like why he's not main eventing for the belt because him and Samoa Joe made the X Division what it was. Well, X Division is a joke now, but those guys were main eventing. Well, they kind of were main eventing. I would think because their X Division matches were always awesome. Like Jarrett was champion back then. Like I could give two shits about Jarrett. Like the real main events for the heavyweight belt were always awful compared to X Division. Right. And now Joe and AJ Styles have moved up to be main eventers themselves, but now to give Sting the belt, it's like Sting needs to leave. It's like the same thing for The Undertaker in WWE. He needs to leave and just go away because every match they put him in is just so fucking boring to watch. Yeah,
but I'm telling you, people were rooting for him at the match I
totally know. Like,
I was actually kind of surprised that Sting was over as much as he was.
Yeah,
but people were going bonkers for him,
which is kind of funny because in the storyline they tried to make Sting the heel.
Right? Yeah,
but like you can't make him the heel.
No, it doesn't work. Right? It's like whenever they tried to get Stone Cold to be the heel, and no matter what despicable thing he did, the only time he was even anyone even bought him partly as a heel was when he hooked up with McMahon. Mm-hmm. He was part of the corporate thing.
Yeah, when ECW and WCW came in and they merged them. Yeah. Right.
That was pretty.
And that was awesome because that was old Austin.
Oh yeah, and Austin will always. I mean, I always forgot what a great persona the guy had. He could just do, back and forth, and that is unlike anybody.
Well, I'm sure he's going to be the special ref at Cyber Sunday for the Jericho match because it's like you can vote. It's the gimmick where you can vote on every match.
Yeah,
and like it's Jericho versus Batista, and the special guest referee can either be Shawn Michaels Shawn Michaels, Randy Orton.
Randy Orton, right?
Or Steve Austin.
Steve Austin.
I'm sure Steve Austin's
Hey, everyone's going to want to see Steve Austin.
And Honky Tonk Man will probably wrestle Santino Marella, would be awesome.
That would be awesome. Tell you, I love Santino Marella. I hope that they let him break the Honky Tonk Man's record.
It's got like another year to go.
But still, I mean, did you ever notice that the guy has the belt, but he hasn't won a match in how long?
Well, yeah, because he never defends the belt.
But that's the whole thing, right? And that would be the same thing with the Honky Tonk Man too.
Right.
He would have it. I mean, he had that long running gimmick.
But belts don't have. Very rarely do people keep the belts for a long time. SmackDown had what's his name, MVP had the U.S. belt for almost a year or over a year.
Right.
And then remember JBL was champion for over a year on SmackDown?
Right, the WWE champion.
And SmackDown too. London and Kendrick were tag team champions for almost a year.
Right.
But they don't really, on Raw, they don't really do that at all.
I don't know if people really pay attention to that anymore. Unless it's brought to their attention, like they say, well, so-and-so's had the belt for so long. Because I think...
But they're doing the exact opposite. Every week he's coming out and telling you how long he's had the belt.
Right.
Like how...
Let's take out the hunka-dunka meter.
Yeah, like how long, though, until people just get bored of it every week? I wouldn't get bored of it, but I think normal people who don't like him can get bored of it.
Yeah. I don't know. Remember when The Rock would come out and say he's the people's champion, but back when he was a heel?
Yeah.
And he repeated it enough times that people started buying into it.
That's true.
Which was really clever. I remember I'd go to some of the very first matches that The Rock ever did, and he would do that, finally The Rock has come back. I'm like, dude, this is the first time you've been here. How is it that you're back? Mm-hmm. And now it became that big catchphrase. So I don't know. Maybe that'll happen with Santino Marella. It'll become one of those things that people look forward to.
I hope so.
The hunky dunk meter.
That's true. And if you're a true wrestling fan, like, how could you not like? He's got probably one of the best characters that they've had in years.
He's got a great character. He's a funny character. Mm-hmm. He's funny, is what the whole thing is. And has Beth Phoenix had work done on her or something? Because she looks different than from when she first came in.
Well, I know that she's had, I don't know what kind of surgical work she's had done, but when she first came into WWE, like the third week she was in WWE, she got her jaw broken. So they put like they had to put like hinges in her jaw. So I don't know if they did any work besides that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it seemed like they did like a China thing on her, because remember when she first came in, she had a very masculine look to her, but then slowly over time, she got like the breast implants, and then she got, work done on her face, and then, to really soften her look up a bit.
Well, I think they're actually having Beth Phoenix wear street clothes, which makes her look more feminine. Notice it, they've been having her wear street clothes a lot when she's not wrestling.
And she's really getting over as the Glamazon thing. Mm-hmm. I think she's really, I'm starting to buy into that whole thing. I didn't buy it before, but I'm buying it now. But she's, I think of her as China Light, in a way.
No, she is, but she's better. She's a better wrestler.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Whatever happened to her? Just
porn with X-Pac.
Pretty much, yeah. Scary.
And she was in rehab, like a couple years ago.
Was it a celebrity rehab show?
Yeah, she was in it. Yeah.
I don't know. All right, well, let's end this first segment on that, and I have some things I want to talk about in the next, having to do with how you've kind of worn down my resistance and some other things. So we'll see you folks in the next segment.